So, hi, good morning. All good? So, only one topic we covered in the last class, that was Portuguese. So, let's start with the remaining European companies, and then after we'll go into the topic of the later Mughals. So, the second company which arrived in India was basically Dutch East India Company. So, as far as there are two things which is to be noted down. So, after completion of this particular topic of the Europeans, I'll tell you the sequence in which they have arrived, and sequence in which their companies have been created. So, both are different. Keep in mind, when it comes to creation of the companies from Europe, so the company, Portuguese were not a company, they were official envoy. But then British company, East India Company was created in 1600 and Dutch East India Company in 1602. But then when it comes to their arrival in India, so Dutch arrived in India in 1605 as a company and British arrived in India in 1608. So दोनों में sequence change हो जाता है. These type of questions are also asked in exam, not only the questions based on the chronology but also the sequence wise chronological order of the creation of the companies and so as their arrival. So let's start with Dutch East India Company. Since they were second to arrive in India, so we'll start with the Dutch East India Company. So this company was created in 1602, and moreover, soon after the creation, they have embarked on the journey to the eastern part of the world. So generally in those times that there were two things which were mentioned, that East Indies and West Indies. So what is East Indies? Everything is in the eastern side of the Europe is called as East Indies. So this company got created and 1605 they have arrived in India, but they were not first to arrive in India. They first arrived in Indonesia. So Dutch East India Company, popularly it is also known as, in Dutch language, VOC. This is what was the symbol also, symbol of this company. So VOC. So this company arrived in Sumatra, island of the Indonesia, and so as the Java. And the place where they have arrived, that was known as Batam in Indonesia. But after Indonesia, they have come to India in 1605. And in 1605, they went on to create their first settlement in India, or habitation, you can say, or warehouse at Masulipatam. Masulipatam. Then another very important thing about this company, that right from the beginning, it was carrying that endeavor to create their warehouses, factories, many nations. So that's why Dutch East India Company is said to be the first multinational company of the world. Then, meaning that right from the beginning, they tried to be present in many countries in the eastern part of the world. So they established their control in the Indonesian island, and so as they further embarked to establish their control in India. As far as this company's nature is concerned, it was a very rich company. Then, so it was a very rich company, and that's why there was a rapid expansion of this company in India. So rapid expansion of this company in India, in a very quick pace of time, they created their trading centers in many parts of India. So we will write those all trading centers. So for example, Masulipatam they started, but they are further going into the coastal areas of India. So Pulikat, Chinsura, Kasim Bazar, Nagapattinam, Balasore, Ratnagiri. Then they have further moved to the Surat. So these all places they have created their, even Dhaka, Patna, these all places they created their warehouses. Apart from it, uh, Portuguese had a very good that hold in the Kerala, because Portuguese first arrived in Calicut, you remember, and then after they have befriended Cochin ruler also. But it is very surprising that Portuguese were completely replaced by the Dutch, particularly in the Cochin area, which was the stronghold of the Portuguese. There were some fights also, but apart from the fight, it was the Dutch who was winning the trust of the ruler of the Cochin. So what they did, that Portuguese, on one hand, they were more about the propagation of the Christianity. On the other hand, Dutch started to respect the local culture of that area. So, in fact, they went on to mint the coins in the name of the Lord Venkateshwar from the Cochin Mint. Then, and so as later on from many other areas, they also released the coins with the name of the Hindu gods. So, who is Lord Venkateshwar? Any idea? Lord Vishnu. Okay? So they released the coins with the name of the Lord Vishnu, and as such, the Cochin ruler were developing more trust in the that this people, Dutch people, rather than Portuguese. So Portuguese were completely replaced. If those who are from Kerala, they must be knowing that if you go to Fort Kochi area of the Cochin, it is more of a Dutch settlement rather than a Portuguese. Only few remnants of the Portuguese are remaining in the Cochin. Then what else? So since they were a rich company, they were expanding in a much big way. But then in India, there were other big powers also. By the time of the 1750s, French and British are also the big powers, and all of them are infighting. Not only infighting, there is a stiff competition between them to monopolize the Indian trade. So this is leading to the tripartite struggle between the Dutch, English, and so as the French. Now, in this particular scenario, what has happened, that there was one very famous incident in Indonesia, Battle of Ambiona. ध्यान से समझना, everything is interconnected. So Battle of Ambiona in Indonesia, and that battle was between Dutch and English in Indonesia, in which some of the English were killed. Then some of the British were killed, and then after English were all in the mood of taking the revenge. So what happened in 1759? There are many such developments, but these all developments are leading to fight, one very big fight between the British and Dutch. The battle is known as Battle of Bidara or Chinsura or Hooghly. In this battle, Dutch were thoroughly defeated, and from here starts the story of their winding up from India. So slowly they are winding up their operations from India, and now they were of the view that if one has to control, one must focus on one area. They wanted to control both India and Indonesia, but in India there are so many players, and in Indonesia there was not much competition. So what they did, that they decided in the favor of Indonesia that they will wind up their operations from India and better focus on the India. The situation is just similar कि दो पैर दो नाव में, then, and it is never the boat would never be stable. So they decided that they will focus on Indonesia. Moreover, one more thing, that Indonesia was also lucrative for them, meaning business के लिए अच्छा था. And what was that? So in India, the native spices of India, I think in the first class we mentioned, what were the native spices? Black pepper and cardamom. But in Indonesia also there are some native spices, and these native spices were traded in the different parts of the world by Dutch only. So any guess that what was that native spice of the Indonesia? No idea. So black pepper and cardamom are from India, but then clove and nutmeg. Nutmeg is combined with mace. These are the native spices of Indonesia. So nutmeg and mace. Now, interesting part of nutmeg and mace. So clove is the native spice of Indonesia, and so is the nutmeg and mace. You have heard nutmeg and mace? Javitri and Jaifal. Ab sun liya? Then, so Javitri and Jaifal, they come from only one plant. They are actually that product of the one fruit only. So it's an interesting fruit. It looks like this. Then, and then inside there would be a seed. Seed is Jaifal, and seed ke upar there is this pink color florets. Then, and these florets are Javitri. And when the fruit is ripe, it opens, and both the things would be visible to you. So seed is Jaifal. So एक plant से ही दो मसाले, ठीक है? Two spices, but both have different smell. That's interesting. That Jaifal has a different smell, different aroma. Even see, spices that we use in food, it all has essential oil. Essential oil की वजह से ही जो भी taste आता है, जो भी fragrance आता है. So It is interesting plant because the essential oil of the floret is different from the essential oil which is there in the seed. Then, so they are not same. So anyways, so they monopolize this trade, and then after, it is from the Indonesia that clove, nutmeg and mace came to India. Then, chalo, when we are asking about the spices, so spices make black pepper, cardamom, clove ho gaya, nutmeg and mace ho gaya. Any other interesting spice which is kind of that very much used in the Indian houses all over the world also? Cinnamon, very good, exactly, cinnamon. So cinnamon is the native spice of which area? Sri Lanka. Okay? So cinnamon is the native spice of Sri Lanka, and from Sri Lanka it came to India. So this is how after the 1759 they are winding up their operations, and by 1825 they sold all their properties in India and they completely focused on Indonesian islands. So that's how Dutch stint in India was little aggressive, but then they winded up also in a quick pace of time. So mention, right? It was created in 1602. It was created in 1602 and मतलब company, ठीक है? So it was created in 1602 and it was the first multinational company in the world. First multinational company in the world. Then mention further. They arrived in India in 1605. They arrived in India in 1605. And created their first warehouse at Masulipatam. Created their first warehouse at Masulipatam in 1605 itself. Mention, before coming to India, they already increased their presence in Indonesia. They already increased their presence in Indonesia and created their settlements at Batam and Batavia in Indonesia. So you must have heard about the Indonesian capital. What is that? No idea. What is the Indonesia capital? Jakarta. So actually Batavia was the one which was called as Jakarta. So this was Jakarta. And actually this was not the original name of the Jakarta. In the beginning, Jakarta was Jakarta. Then, so Jakarta. But then it became Jakarta over the period. Okay? That Upabhrams started to develop. Then mention, you're right. In India, their expansion happened in a quick fashion. In India, their expansion happened in a quick fashion. They created their warehouses at, so I'm writing the name of the places you can mention. So just 1 minute. So start with Cochin, Pulicat, Surat, Balasore, Nagapattinam, Chinsura, Kasim Bazar, Dhaka, Patna, Bimlipatnam. So these were some of the main places. So yes, Nusantara is the new capital which is being developed. अभी complete नहीं हुआ है in Indonesia, and that's actually they are cutting the forest and then they are creating this new capital. What is the problem of Jakarta? It's a sinking town, sinking city, and so much of density. So now these were the places where they have established their control. Then mentioned, आगे लिखो, Dutch completely replaced, Dutch completely replaced Portuguese from Cochin, completely replaced Portuguese from Cochin. They also started to release the coins in the name of Lord Venkateshwar. In the name of Lord Venkateshwar. Lord Venkateshwar. So mention they adopted the policy of respect towards Indian culture. Respect towards Indian culture. Then mention. But full stop के बाद लिखो. But in the middle of 18th century, in the middle of 18th century, tripartite struggle started between French, English and Dutch to establish the monopoly of trade in India. To establish monopoly of trade in India. Then mention in 1759, British East India Company defeated Dutch East India Company in the Battle of Bedara. It's also called as Chinsura, and oblique you can mention Hooghly. So all the three names: Battle of Bedara, Chinsura or Hooghly. Dutch were thoroughly defeated. After which they decided to focus on Indonesian islands rather than fighting with the other Europeans in India. Other Europeans in India. Full stop. Mention other Europeans in India. Slowly they started to wind up. slowly they started to wind up their operations. Slowly they started to wind up their operations from India, and by 1825 by 1825 they completely left India. They completely left India. So now this is what is about the Dutch East India Company's stint in India. Then let's come to the very important and the one who has established the colonialism in India. So British East India Company. So mention British East India Company, also called as English East India Company. So this company was created little earlier. See that understand. As far as the creation of the company is concerned, company was created in 1599. The name was not British East India Company, Merchant Adventurers of East. But over the period, there were so many changes in the name. It's only after 40-50 years that it came to be known as British East India Company. So that became a final name. But in the beginning, 1599, it was known as Merchant Adventurers of the East. Before going into the story of the British, I need to tell you that their adventure also. Now understand, when these Portuguese and Spanish people, they have started the adventure in the sea, so English was also like that, hum bhi ek rasta nikalenge India ka. So they were also in the mood of finding one alternative way, alternative route to India. And they, in fact, they became overboard in their statements, that they went on to say that we will not follow the route which Portuguese have found. We will create another route of India, direct sea route. So it was a little bumptious statement. And you know what they did? That they were of the view that if the Portuguese can go from this direction, ऐसे नीचे से जाके ढूंढ सकते हैं, तो they were like, हम ऊपर से जाके ढूंढेंगे. And moreover, money was collected with the British merchants. In fact, a campaign was that started in Britain, whereby the rich merchants, they all contributed money. And then 3 ships were constructed, they were created. And now the ambitious journey started. And ambitious journey was what? They will be taking northward direction, Arctic Sea. Okay? And then circumnavigating Russia, and then udhar ke side se they will be coming to India. So this is what was their idea. You know what happened to them? All the 3 ships, they were frozen to death in the North Sea. Then, so this adventure, what indication or what knowledge it gave to all over the world? That you cannot go in this direction. So experiment failed, but then at least they got to know कि इस तरह से हम नहीं जा सकते. So now further knowledge about the earth is also, okay, it is unveiled, that people are getting to know that what are the different seas and different topographies and different kind of structures on the earth. If these adventures would not have happened, though it resulted in the tragedy, but in that tragedy there was a knowledge that in future nobody will do like this. Then, so British were taken aback by this, and that's why they have waited for us some time. Now, understand that how the rise of the British is happening. So, एक और क्वेश्चन ये होता है कि स्पेन was also a very big power. ठीक है? It was also a very big power. Why Spain never came to India? पहली बार तो स्पेन ने ही भेजा था कोलंबस को. Then and he went on to find West Indies. But why Spain never came to India? There are 2-3 reasons. First of all, when Spain and Portugal, they have started their adventure in the sea. So इन्होंने, both of them, they have gone with a treaty. And the treaty is known as Treaty of Tordesillas. Okay? It seems like some Mexican food. Okay? Tortilla. So that Treaty of Tordesillas, and what was it? So they created an imaginary line in between. ये अफ्रीका हो गया, ठीक है, and this South America, North America. So बीच में से they created an imaginary line, and they maintained that this part, ठीक है, that western part of the imaginary line will be explored by Spain, and eastern part will be explored by Portuguese, ठीक है, and they did not took any other country of the Europe into consideration, ठीक है. बाकी सब लोगों को कंसिडरेशन में नहीं लिया. And moreover, but then you can ask one more question. If we look at the colonialism, so Portuguese colonies are also there in the North South America. ऐसा कैसे हुआ जब already they have decided कि they will be exploring this area and they will be exploring this area. The reason is that by 1580 Portuguese and Spanish empires were attached with each other. दोनों unite हो गए. So that's why now, so Portuguese have been attached to the Spanish Empire, so that's how now 1580 onwards they can be there in this area. So that is one thing. Moreover, so Spanish people never came to India. But then how British will be rising? So in 1575, listen, take care, 1575, Queen Elizabeth of Britain, she made a statement. And what was the statement? That ships make history. ठीक है, ships make history, and if Britain has to, ठीक है, Britain has to become great, then Britain has to become great in the naval strength also, and that's how they started the preparation. And in 1588 there was a big fight between the Spanish Armada, which was the strongest in the world at that time, and British completely defeated Spanish Armada, and they were able to sink many of their ships. So that's how the British as a naval power, they are rising. And by 1599 when this company was created, so it is on 31st of December 1600, Queen Elizabeth gave the permission to this company to trade with India and the eastern countries, and this particular charter was given for 15 years, beginning में 15 साल के लिए. But later on, looking at the benefits of it, the charter was extended for infinite period till further notice. Meaning कि जब तक notice ना आ जाए तब तक charter चलेगा. But you are listening to this word charter for the first time. What is charter? So charter is the document, or it is the approval of the rights which company will be enjoying in India or any eastern nations. So what it will include? So charter will say that company has right to wage a war in India. लड़ाई कर सकते हैं. They can create their settlements in India. They can conclude treaties with the Indian rulers then, and they can safeguard their interest, and as and when required, if they need the security of the British monarch, so British army will also be sent to India to safeguard the British interest. So these all are the privileges of the British which is mentioned in the charter. And another thing, that the monopoly of this company would be there in India. What does it mean? Monopoly of trade. So what does it mean? क्या ब्रिटेन में सिर्फ एक ही कंपनी थी? There would be many companies in the Britain. So this one company was given right to trade with India. All the other companies of the Britain, they are not given any right to trade with India. So that is mentioned in the charter. So this is how they started. But then परमिशन तो मिल गया 1600 में, बट देन ब्रिटिश ऑल्सो केम टू इंडोनेशिया फर्स्ट. ठीक है, आफ्टर द फॉर्मेशन ऑफ द कंपनी दे केम टू इंडोनेशिया, एंड देन फाइनली दे केम टू इंडिया इन 1608 एज अ एनवॉय ऑफ दिस कंपनी. सो हु वाज द फर्स्ट पर्सन? विलियम हॉकिंस. ठीक है, सो सर विलियम हॉकिंस वाज द फर्स्ट पर्सन हु केम टू इंडिया, एंड एट दैट टाइम 1608 द एम्परर ऑफ इंडिया इज Jahangir. So he went to the court of Jahangir to seek the necessary permission to create the warehouses and the trading centers in India. Jahangir gave him, okay, that particular permission. And in fact, Jahangir was impressed by some of the things of the Sir William Hawkins, and he also gave him Mansabdar position. Mansabdar means that Mughal official position. And we'll talk about Mansabdari system in the decline of the Mughals. So now understand, what was the thing with which Jahangir was impressed? It was this guy, he did preparation. बोलते हैं ना कि homework करके आना. So he did his homework. And what was the homework of the William Hawkins? That he knew perfectly that the language of the Mughal ruler is Turkish and Persian. Turkish, Persian, and the Khadi Boli, okay, which is popular in this part. Urdu was also the language. Urdu, Khadi Boli, Turkish, and Persian. But as far as the origin of the Mughal is concerned, so their origin, they are half Mongol, half Turkish. Then, so now what he did, that Hawkins has already come to Turkey. ठीक है, वे बैक 4-5 साल पहले ही. And in Turkey, he got married with a Turkish lady. And then with the Turkish lady, he learned the Turkish language. And then he came to the Mughal court. So then he came to the Mughal court since he was able to conversate in the Turkish language with the Jahangir. Jahangir was impressed by it. And that's how he gave him the 500 Mansabdar position. And then after, the construction of the warehouse started at Surat. So Surat was the first warehouse of the British in India. But then what happened? Portuguese were not happy by this decision. Portuguese were not happy by this decision, that why British have been given a position in the Mughal court. The reason is that Portuguese were wielding hell lot of influence in the Mughal court from long time, and they had a very good relation with the Mughal rulers right from the beginning. The reason is that when the Mughals are going to trade with the different parts of the world, in Arab world, European part of the world, so they were paying the permit fee to them. Okay? And moreover, Portuguese were also facilitating that trade. Now understand that why Mughals have to pay the fee, why they were dependent on the Portuguese particularly at this time. And this is one very surprising thing. Mughals never built a navy. They didn't had any naval power. That was the biggest weakness in this time. So if they would have built a naval power, maybe any European would not have arrived in India, and they must not have increased their strength like this. So Mughals, right from the beginning, they were dependent on the Portuguese to do the trade. They were using the Portuguese ships to trade with the different countries and the other parts of the world. Moreover, Portuguese rise is also happening at the time when Akbar is in control. Akbar is the emperor of India. Akbar's timeline is 1556 to 1605. And as we all know that Akbar is often said as that he was the Akbar the Great. Then because of his initiatives and his policies and his good governance. And moreover, one religious aspect of the Akbar I need to tell you, that Akbar created a place in the Fatehpur Sikri town. The name of the place was Ibadat Khana, or building actually. And Akbar, initially he was having religious conversations with the Islamic theologians, but he was not very satisfied with it. And then what he did, that he opened Ibadat Khana for all the religions, for all the representatives from the different religions. So that's how many such representatives of the religions like Hinduism, Jainism, Zoroastrianism, Islam, and Christianity, they started to participate in it. And Christianity at this time in the Akbar's Ibadat Khana was represented by Portuguese. Okay? So it is the Portuguese who were representing Christianity. Moreover, Akbar, after these all discussions in the Ibadat Khana, he went on to create his own religion. And the name of the religion was Dine Ilahi. Then, so which was a kind of a mixture of everything. So now, Portuguese at this point of time, they were having high hopes that they will be able to convert Akbar into Christianity. But then Akbar never got converted into Christianity. So their hopes were dashed. Then after comes the time of the Jahangir, 1605 to 1627. It is said that Jahangir was not the practitioner of religion. He was an atheist Muslim, meaning that he is not practicing the rituals of the Islam. He considered himself as a Muslim, but then he was not practicing the rituals of the Islam. So knowing this particular thing, they once again Portuguese became hopeful that they will be able to convert Jahangir to Christianity. Then, and you know what they did? So they persuaded in such a manner to Jahangir that Jahangir once said to the Portuguese that let me give you one chance. Then if it is successful, then I will convert to the Christianity. If it is not successful, so then you will never pester me. So what was this? So Jahangir said that I am giving 3 of my nephews to you. 3 of my nephews to you, convert them to Christianity. Okay? And if these 3 kids, they were actually kids, 14-year, 15-year-old. So if these 3 kids, if they remain in the fold of the Christianity for 6 months, so then I will also convert to Christianity. If they don't remain, so you will not be pursuing like this. So now these 3 kids, they were 13, 14 years old, they were converted to Christianity. And then after, one mistake must have been done by the Christian priest. that these kids whose age is 13, 14, they must have been given freedom to play and then do all the activities. But what task was given to these three kids, that they were wearing the Christian clothes, then that clothes of the Christian priest. And so as they were all the time, they were carrying the cross, they were moving from one village to another village and talking about the tenets or the doctrines of the Christianity. These three kids, they got so pissed off with this development that what they did, within 2 months only, they ran away from the place and they came to the Jahangir's court. So they were reconverted back to Islam. And that's how Portuguese stopped pursuing Jahangir for conversion into Christianity. So you might be thinking कि ये लग रहा है कुछ exaggerated fact है. This is a real fact which has happened. Then that this is what happened at that time. So now Portuguese are having influence. अब British आ गए court में. So they are not liking the presence of the British, which led to some fight between them also, British and Portuguese. But when British and Portuguese were fighting, Jahangir did not intervene. Then, so Jahangir did not intervene. This was not, William Hawkins was expecting that Jahangir will be helping him. But then Jahangir did not help anybody, he did not intervene. It was an off fight, obviously not the Jahangir's fight, so he was not interested in it. But after this, when William Hawkins did not got any help, he left India in 1611 and he went back to Britain. Then once again, another envoy of the company, okay? Another person related to company, Thomas Best. He came, he was sent in 1612 and he defeated Portuguese in the Battle of Swali. Then, so Battle of Swali, after this defeat of the Portuguese, Jahangir was impressed. And then he was completely prepared for the fact that he will be giving more privileges to the British. And finally in 1615, when Sir Thomas Roe came to Jahangir's court, he was given full permissions. Then, so we'll further talk about it. You write this much. Mention. So, start with, in 1599, merchant adventurers of the East, organization was created. Merchant Adventurers of the East organization was created to trade with the Eastern nations. Organization was created to trade with the Eastern nations and earn profit from the trade. Then mention after it, profit from the trade. On 31st of December 1600, Queen Elizabeth of Britain gave royal charter to the company for 15 years. To trade with Eastern nations. Then mention. Later, the charter was extended for infinite period till further notice. Then mention after it, till further notice, full stop. Over the period, over the period, this company came to be known as, over the period, this company came to be known as British East India Company, British East India Company or English East India Company. British East India Company or English East India Company. Done. Then change paragraph and mention. The first official envoy, the first official envoy of company, the first official envoy of company led by Sir William Hawkins, led by Sir William Hawkins, visited Mughal Emperor, visited Mughal Emperor Jahangir's court, Mughal Emperor Jahangir's court, Jahangir's court. Mention. Impressed by William Hawkins, impressed by William Hawkins, Jahangir gave him a mansabdar position, and British were further allowed to create their warehouse. British were further allowed to create their warehouse at Surat and Masulipatam. Create their warehouse at Surat and Masulipatam. Then फिर से change करो paragraph and then you mention the very presence of British, the very presence of British in Mughal court, was not liked. The very presence of British in Mughal court was not liked by Portuguese, which led to fight between the two, Then fight between the two, full stop, then mention. When Hawkins did not got any support, from the Mughal side, Mughal court, he left India. Comma के बाद लिखना, he left India. In 1612, the British envoy led by Thomas Best, defeated Portuguese in the Battle of Swali. Jahangir was impressed with British. Now listen. So 1615, Sir Thomas Roe, and this is a big achievement for the British. The most important achievement for the British is 1615. the envoy led by Sir Thomas Roe, when he visited, so when he visited, so he was given all the necessary permission, though still at this point of time, there is a protest by the Portuguese, but Jahangir did not listen to them. So it's not just this victory of the British is which is instrumental that Jahangir is going to give them all permission. There is a one more development. And what is this development? Listen carefully. 1611, Jahangir got married to Noor Jahan. Okay? Original name of the Noor Jahan was Mehrunisa. And she was actually that the story is like that she was actually the wife of a Mughal noble who was there in the Bengal. When the death of the Mughal noble has happened, then Mehrunisa was brought to the Mughal harem, and in the Mughal harem itself, Jahangir has proposed her. Then she was also she also was highly aspirational lady, and she also wanted to be the queen of the India. So she accepted readily, and that's how she was given the name Noor Jahan. And it is said that the name was given because she was a divine beauty, very beautiful. But at the same point of time, that she was highly intelligent also, and then she was an aspirational lady. She was not like the others that who wanted to be in that chauka bartan, theek hai? So she wanted to be in the political scenario, in the decision making and everything. So aspirational, and that's how. So Noor Jahan wanted to increase her influence in the Mughal court. One of the way that she was able to see this thing, that if she is promoting somebody, and if that particular group becomes important in the Mughal court, so her importance also increases. And what was the group? Portuguese are there from the long time. Okay? They are from the long time. So they cannot be promoted with the Noor Jahan's help. Only the new group can be promoted, and new group was the British. So it is Noor Jahan, it is said that in between 1612 to 1615, it is Noor Jahan who has guided the British agents that how they will be operating in the Mughal court, and they get the necessary permission. So one of the information that she has passed on to the British is that Jahangir was a freak about paintings. He himself was a great painter of that time. He used to paint on the different flora and fauna, different subjects. So it is said that Jahangir had, in the last part of his life, he had only one love, and that love was the painting. All the time he is in painting. So now he said that if you guys bring him, that some good kind of the gift which is related to the painting and unique techniques which he can incorporate in his painting, so he will be impressed. So now what happened? Sir Thomas Roe, he came in 1615, and he brought good number of the European paintings with him to give to the Jahangir. It is very interesting and amusing also. So Jahangir, when the gift was presented, so Jahangir looked at that particular painting, and then he had a smirk on his face. You know what is smirk? That थोड़ी सी मतलब ना वो बोलते हैं ना कि चतुर मुस्कान, ठीक है? So that kind of smile was there on his face. Then why it was there? So what he did, that Jahangir said to his own people that bring a return gift for the Thomas Roe. And everybody know that what was the return gift. A very big basket of the paintings was brought. And then Jahangir asked to Thomas Roe, the painting that Thomas Roe brought, the painting, there were two famous paintings, Mother Mary and Zebra. Then, so Jahangir asked to Thomas Roe that can you find your painting in this basket? Now in this basket, near about 15, 20, Mother Mary and Zebra, these paintings were there. What does it mean? Jahangir has already practiced it. He was aware of this famous painting of the Europe, and he has already practiced it. So now Thomas Roe, looking at the painting to find out, he was perplexed. Then he was perplexed, he was in anxiety, and obviously he was so nervous at that time that he was not able to find out his painting. So then after, he realized that he has done the mistake. But you know, British are one good example. Okay? If they are not able to impress in one way, they will be impressing the others in the other way. And this is what is the greatest attribute of the British, that they always had the gift of gab. What is gift of gab? Their command on the language. And moreover, if you're not able to impress with your acts, so you'll be impressing them with your speech. So Thomas Roe laid down on the floor, then as if he's in some mandir or some mosque or some religious place and praying to the God, and he laid down on the floor, and then he started that in a very kind of that exclamation voice that there is none like you, you are the greatest of the great, your paintings are unparalleled. Today I realize, and this word must spread to the Britain, that there is none like Jahangir. Now everything that he wanted to vomit, he vomited. Then, but it was a good vomit. Then, and then after Jahangir was impressed with this. And kisko badai achhi nahi lagti hai. The reality is this, that everybody likes to be appreciated. So Jahangir was impressed by it, and somehow there was the hand of the Noor Jahan also. She also wanted that she was the favorite queen, so she also wanted that British must be given more permission, and that's how British were given permission to create their warehouses in different parts of India. So then they created immediately after the Surat and Masulipatam was completed. So they created their warehouse at that Bharuch and Ahmedabad. So that is the first thing, Bharuch and Ahmedabad. After Bharuch and Ahmedabad, they have gone to Agra. Then after Agra, they have gone to Hariharpur. Hariharpur is in the eastern India, Odisha part. Then, so Hariharpur. And moreover, it is in the 1639 that British envoy led by Sir Francis Day, he got the village of Madras. Then, and village of Madras from the ruler of Chandragiri. Then, so in 1639, when they got Madras from the ruler of Chandragiri, so they created a fort in Madras, and the fort came to be known as Saint Fort George. Okay, so Saint Fort George, and this was the first fort of British in India. And that's how Madras is, in the beginning, Madras is going to become the headquarters of the British in India. So mention, you write. Swali tak likh liya. Battle of Swali, Jahangir was impressed. Then mention. In 1615, British envoy led by Sir Thomas Roe, visited Jahangir's court. At this time, Jahangir gave all the necessary permission. To British. To create further warehouses in India. Full stop. Till this date, this was the biggest achievement of British. In Mughal court. And after it, there was no looking back. There was no looking back for British in India. Done. Then mention. They created their warehouses. At Bharuch, Ahmedabad, and Agra. Before 1620. Full stop. Then mention. In 1633, they created their trading center at Hariharpur. In eastern India. then mention. In 1639, British officer Francis Day, British officer Francis Day got the village of Madras, on lease with, or from, not with, on lease from the ruler of Chandragiri, on lease from the ruler of Chandragiri. Chandragiri. Then आगे लिखो. In Madras, British created St. Fort George. British created St. Fort George, which was their first fort in India. Which was their first fort in India. First fort in India. Done? So now listen. So ये तो हो गया expansion in the eastern side, but what about the Bombay? So Bombay, understand that initially there was acrimony, there was rivalry with the Portuguese, but even Portuguese are also becoming amenable to the British East India Company. What happened? That in 1661, there was a matrimonial alliance between Portuguese princess Catherine of Braganza with the British Prince Charles II. Okay? So in this marriage, Portuguese have transferred the island of the Bombay, Baseen, you remember? Okay? So island of the Bombay to the British Crown. And British Crown transferred this particular Bombay to company, okay, in 1668 on a nominal payment of the £10. Okay? So 1668, and then after the company's official, his name was Gerald Ongier. Then, so he is the one who is considered as the founder of this particular Bombay from the British side, meaning that those architecture, those buildings and everything which was created in the Bombay, so it was all done in the supervision of the Gerald Ongier. So if Francis Day is the creator of the Madras, so Gerald Ongier was the creator of the Bombay. Then, so बसीन के आगे का जो इलाका आज जिसे हम बोलते हैं साउथ बॉम्बे, I hope you must have heard South Bombay, which all important areas will be there in the South Bombay. Gateway of India, Taj Hotel, you remember that, at least itna to knowledge hai, Kolaba. So these all are the areas. So these all were slowly constructed by the British over the period. Then, so 1668 this has happened, and by 1669 majority of the constructions in Bombay are complete, and Bombay became the business headquarter of the British. Then, so business headquarter of the British. But what about Calcutta? So these are the three important cities which were developed by the British. So Calcutta, so entry of the British in Calcutta, iski bhi ek kahani hai, just understand. So actually when Shah Jahan was the emperor, then, so at that point of time, all the sons of the Shah Jahan, they were given different official position. So Aurangzeb was also governor of some area. So as the four sons of the Shah Jahan, there are more, but the four were important. So these four were Murad, Shah Suja, Aurangzeb and Dara Shikoh. So it is the Shah Suja who was the that eldest son was the Dara Shikoh, and second was the Shah Suja, third was Aurangzeb, and fourth was Murad. So it is Shah Suja who was the governor of the Bengal. So in 1650s, he allowed British to create their establishment at Hooghly. So as such, British created their establishment at Hooghly. But 1686 ke around, then what happened, that there was a fight between the Mughal governors of this area and so as the British. Okay? Kuch taxes ko leke they fought with each other, and British were not giving the taxes. So now Aurangzeb banned them from the Hooghly, okay, and expelled them out from the Hooghly. So now in this situation, what happened? There was one British officer whose name was Job Charnock. Then, and Job Charnock what he did, that he persuaded Aurangzeb, ठीक है, and continuous persuasion to restore the British privileges in the Bengal, and they will not repeat the same kind of mistake. So finally, Aurangzeb gave them one last chance. In 1690, he allowed them that to recreate the establishment, to come back to the Hooghly, and moreover, there was one thing which they needed to do, that they will have to pay 3,000 rupees annually to trade in Bengal. So British agreed for it, and that's how slowly they are expanding in the Bengal. Now in 1698, what happened? Three villages in Bengal, okay, particularly in and around today's Calcutta, British got on lease, and these three villages were Govindpur, Sutnati, and Kalikata. So they got these three villages on lease, and then after they clubbed these three villages, and then they created their second fort in India, that is St. Fort William, Calcutta. So Calcutta was named after the last village, Kalikata. Okay? So that's how in the British pronunciation they made it to the Calcutta. And this is a new beginning for the British. 1698, Calcutta was founded, and then after, over the period, the Calcutta developed in such a way that Calcutta became the political headquarters of the British in India. And after 1857, it was the capital of the British India. Then, which continued till 1911. And it is only in the 1911 that transfer of the capital happened from Calcutta to New Delhi. Then, so we will talk about it. देखो, New Delhi, as far as the construction of the architecture is concerned, two places we mentioned is, एक तो art and culture में we will be having discussion on New Delhi, and another thing is that political one, which we'll be having in the history only. So mention, you write, paragraph change करके, and then you mention, Hariharpur you have written, so then you write, in 1661, there was a matrimonial alliance between Portuguese princess Catherine of Braganza. Portuguese princess Catherine of Braganza with British prince Charles II. Charles II. Then mention the island of Bombay was transferred to British Crown. The island of Bombay was transferred to British Crown as a dowry prize. The island of Bombay was transferred to British Crown as a dowry prize. Full stop. Later in 1668, Bombay was transferred to British East India Company. Bombay was transferred. See, one time if you have written British East India Company, तो बाद में short form भी use कर सकते हो. This abbreviation is right, BEIC. ठीक है? Not need to write all the time British East India Company. So, island of Bombay was transferred to British East India Company on a nominal price of 10 pounds. On a nominal price of 10 pounds. Then, so on a nominal price of 10 pounds. Soon Bombay became the business headquarter. Of British in India. Business headquarter of British in India. Then, so business headquarter of British in India, full stop. Then mention, फिर से paragraph change करो, and then you write, entry of British in Bengal happened in 1650s. entry of British in Bengal happened in 1650s. Full stop. It was Mughal governor Shah Suja. It was Mughal governor Shah Suja who allowed. It was Mughal governor Shah Suja who allowed British to create their habitation. To create their habitation at Hooghly. Hooghly. But in 1686, but in 1686, due to due to some local dispute, due to some local dispute with the Mughal governors, with the Mughal governors, with the Mughal governors, British did not paid the taxes. Did not paid the taxes. Taxes. After which Aurangzeb, snatched, after which Aurangzeb snatched all the privileges of British from Hooghly. All the privileges of British from Hooghly. Then mention all the privileges of British from Hooghly, full stop. After it, at this time, a British officer, Job Charnock, persuaded Aurangzeb. As such, in 1690, as such, in 1690, 1690, Aurangzeb restored British privileges in Bengal, on an annual payment of 3,000 rupees. 3,000 rupees. Then annual payment of 3,000 rupees. Then, so this was the deal. Then mention last line about the British. In 1698, British got 3 villages on lease. 3 villages on lease, that is Govindpur, Sootnati and Kalikata. Govindpur, Sootnati and Kalikata. They clubbed these 3 villages. Kalikata. They clubbed these 3 villages and created Sandford William. Calcutta. Which later became political headquarter and the capital of British India. Then, so capital of British India, full stop. So now, after it, So capital of British India. So this is what is about that initial foundation of the British. Rest of the things we are going to study in the upcoming episodes then. So now let's look at the Danish East India Company. Though it was not a very big company, never expanded in a big way, it was there in India. So just for that purpose, let's understand that which all places they were there and why they winded up from India. So Danish East India Company from the Denmark. Then, so this company was created in 1616 and they came to India. So by 1620, they came to Tamil Nadu itself. And in Tamil Nadu, there is this place called Trankebar. Then, so original name of the area is the Thamangalam. Then, so Tamangalam, but then they named the area as the Trankebar. And they created their warehouse at the Trankebar. Then in 1676, they got another area in Bengal, which is originally it is called as Srirampur area. But then, as you know, that British and the Europeans, they were not able to pronounce the Indian names in a better way. So they have given their own name. So they changed the Srirampur names to Serampur. Then, so in Srirampur, this is a big area and a small part of Serampur, they created their settlement which is known as Frederick Nagar. Then, so this is what they created in the Srirampur area. So only two places they were present. Moreover, on one hand, British, French and Dutch, okay, they were interested in the trade. They are interested in the missionary activity. Okay? So promotion of the Christianity. So it is in 1799. One of the Danish officer, his name was William Reverend Carey, he established a printing press in Srirampur area. The purpose was to publish Bible and so as to popularize the Christianity. Moreover, in 1819, they also created, the same officer, he created Srirampur College, and this college was one of the initial colleges in India meant for the higher education in the Western style. But then, since they were never a big power, and since they were only interested in the missionary activity, so later on by 1845, when the British have firmly consolidated their roots in India, so these two settlements, Danish, they sold it to the British and then winded up from India. One of the reason which is counted over here is that by 1813, आगे हम पढ़ेंगे, that Charter Act of the 1813. So in fact, Charter Act of the 1813 allowed British to propagate Christianity in India. So since already British are also going in the same direction, so now they handed over all the responsibility to British. They sold their property, they winded up from India. So mention, देखो, Danish East India Company as a title. Danish East India Company. So Danish East India Company. अब इसमें लिखो mention. This company was created in 1616. This company was created in 1616. And their main objective was to propagate Christianity. Their main objective was to propagate Christianity. Then initially they established their first settlement at Trankebar in Tamil Nadu. Trankebar in Tamil Nadu by 1620. Trankebar in Tamil Nadu by 1620. Then it's written on board, you can see. Then mention later by 1626. Later by 1676. Later by 1676, they created their settlement, Frederick Nagar. They created their settlement, Frederick Nagar, in Srirampur or Serampur area of Bengal. In Srirampur area of Bengal. It's all written on board. Serampur area of Bengal. Got it? Then mention. In 1799, Danish officer William Reverend Carey, let me write, Carey, established a printing press. William Reverend Carey established a printing press in Serampur area. Established a printing press in Serampur area. Its purpose was to publish Bible. Its purpose was to publish Bible and propagate Christianity. Its purpose was to publish Bible and propagate Christianity. Then mention after it, propagate Christianity, full stop. After it, in 1819, Reverend Carey founded Serampur College. For Western style higher education in India. For Western style higher education in India. Western style higher education in India. Then, so this is what is about one part. Like last line likho. By 1845, they sold all their properties to British. And winded up their operations from India. Then, so now this is what is about the British East India Company and Danish East India Company. So let's come to the last company. So after completion of this company, French East India Company will go into the later Mughal part. So we'll start our story with the Bahadur Shah Zafar. So we'll continue with all the rulers starting from the Bahadur Shah first to Bahadur Shah Zafar. So what were the initiatives, and actually what we mentioned in the very first class, that a rapid decline has happened. So what are the reasons that why this rapid decline has happened? Then, so abhi filhal ke liye mention French East India Company. French East India Company. So it was the last European company. Okay? So last European company, and it was created in the 1664. And by 1668, they have arrived in India. So when the company was created, then, so original name, obviously, that this is the English name that we study over here. The original name of the company is the Compagnie des Indes Orientales. Then, so this is what is the French language for it. We don't need to write, but I just told you. Just like the Dutch East India Company was called as VOC. Okay? So this company, 1664, and they arrived in India. Aurangzeb is the ruler. They got the necessary permission, and then after they are creating their warehouses. So their initial warehouses. Surat and Masulipatam, 1668, 1669. Then comes the Pondicherry. So Pondicherry happened in the 1673. And then comes the Chandranagar, which is the Chandan Nagar area of the Bengal. So Chandranagar by 1690. So before 1700, this is the 4 important places where they have been established. Then after, अच्छा एक और क्वेश्चन बहुत पहले कभी एग्जाम में पूछा था, ठीक है, that who created their first settlement in Pondicherry, and options में English, Portuguese, ठीक है, Dutch and French, all of them were given. So whose settlement was there at very first in the Pondicherry? French. नहीं French नहीं, sorry, not French, Portuguese. Portuguese were the first who created their settlement in the Pondicherry, but then it was taken over by the French when they have come in 1673. ठीक है, तो ये याद रखना, चाहोगे तो लिखवा भी दूंगा, ठीक है, that Portuguese were already there. Then moreover, now understand, so Pondicherry actually became the headquarter of the British. But another thing that कि ancient और medieval से अगर जो ancient से connect करो, तो Pondicherry is the one of the ancient ports of India, ठीक है, and if you look at the paper, so it is a common trend in the UPSC paper, हर 2 साल के बाद, after every 2 year, they are asking one question on the ports. Last year, Pompuhar, Musiri, ठीक है, these were the name of the port. उसके पहले Kadura, ठीक है, घंटशिला, ठीक है, ताम्रलिप्ति, these all ports were asked. So हर 2 साल के बाद पोर्ट का क्वेश्चन होता है. So any idea that what is the oldest name of the Pondicherry? Oldest name? No idea. So oldest name is Arikamedu. ठीक है, it was called as Arikamedu. Ancient में लिखोगे, अभी लिखने की जरूरत नहीं है, but then I'm just telling you. So Arikamedu was the oldest name of the Pondicherry. So it's not a settlement which was created by the British or the Europeans. It is from the old times. Then the middle name of the Pondicherry was Poduca. ठीक है, and from Poduca it became Pondicherry. ठीक है, so now French are there at these places. Moreover, what has happened, and so French are consolidating their position. They are also very rich people, and moreover, the French were also one of the strongest imperialist power in the world. In fact, when we look into colonialism, so it is the French and the British who had the highest number of the colonies. French had 35 and British had 55. So now by 1740, a new governor was appointed in the French company, ठीक है, general, and his name was Joseph Francois Dupleix. So Joseph Francois Dupleix, he was the first person in the Indian history, or first European who started to interfere in the local affairs of the Indian kingdoms. He started the policy of the interference in the local affairs of the Indian kingdoms. And why he was doing so? So he was of expectation that if with his support, if any side, take care, becomes victorious, so then they will give more political mileage to him in the area of the Carnatic. Okay? So in the area of the Carnatic, and that's how he gave a new direction to the European politics in India. Very soon, very soon, French were that British followed the footsteps of the French. They also started the strategy of the interfering in the political affairs of the native kingdoms. And as such, from 1740 onwards, both the companies, they started to fight with each other. Then, so British company and the French company, they started to fight with each other. This bitter fight between the two, it continued for 20 years. Then, and in this bitter fight, though the initiator of this policy were the French, but then the victor of this policy were the British. By the Treaty of Paris, British completely winded up the imperialist ambition of the French. Now, the ambition of the French to create a colonial empire in India was dashed to the ground, and British emerged as the sole colonial power in India. Why sole colonial power? Because in 1759 already they have defeated, okay, whom? Dutch. So Dutch cannot be a bigger power, and by 1760 they have defeated French thoroughly. So now these were the two important powers, and they have been thoroughly defeated. So now it is for the British to build their empire in India from this time onwards, which they did in a gradual fashion. एक और चीज है, as compared to the French, that British company was not a private company. British company was a private company, but on the other hand, French company was a government-owned company. It was owned by their monarchy, King Louis of the France, and moreover, the complete control on the French company. 100% control of the government happened in 1723. So this information will be useful when we are going to talk about the Carnatic Wars and how it was detrimental to the French interest in India, why they were defeated by the British. So mention karo. It was the last European company. It was the last European company which came to India. Which came to India. Then mention last European company which came to India. It was created in 1664. It was created in 1664. And this company was not a private entity. This company was not a private entity, but it was owned by the French government. It was owned by the French government. Full stop. In 1723, the control of French government. In 1723, the control of French government became 100%. Control of the French government became 100% full stop, then mention. आगे लिखो. Their first warehouse in India was at Surat in 1668. So एक एक करके लिख लो. I am writing the dates also. So Surat 1668, Masulipatam 1669, Pondicherry 1673, Chandranagar. So Pondicherry में ब्रैकेट्स में लिखो. Initially settlement was created by Portuguese. Bracket close कर दो and then you write Chandranagar. So Chandranagar, and this is in Bengal in 1690. Bengal in 1690. Then mention. Over the period, Pondicherry emerged as the political headquarter. Pondicherry emerged as the political headquarter of British. Sorry, British nahi, French in India. So political headquarter of French in India. Full stop. Then mention. आगे लिखो. French governor Joseph Francois Dupleix. French governor Joseph Francois Dupleix started the strategy of interfering in the political affairs interfering in the political affairs of the native kingdoms of India. Interfering in the political affairs of the native kingdoms of India. Native kingdoms of India. To gain political mileage. To gain political mileage in Carnatic area. To gain political mileage in Carnatic area. Carnatic area. Then, mention further after it. Very soon, British East India Company. Very soon, British East India Company started to follow. British East India Company started to follow in the footsteps of French. Started to follow in the footsteps of French. Footsteps of French. And they also started interfering. And they also started interfering in the political affairs. They also started interfering in the political affairs of native kingdoms. Political affairs of native kingdoms. Then mention further political affairs of the native kingdoms. Full stop. It led to bitter fight between. It led to bitter fight between French and British. Bitter fight between French and British, which continued for next 20 years. Which continued, bitter fight between French and British, which continued for next 20 years. Full stop. These wars are popularly known as Carnatic Wars. Carnatic Wars. In which finally these wars are popularly known as Carnatic Wars, in which finally British East India Company, BEIC, was victorious. In which finally British East India Company was victorious. Was victorious. Which led to end of the French ambition. Which led to end of the French ambition to create a colonial empire in India. To create a colonial empire in India. Colonial empire in India. Got it? So this is what is about the advent of European initial part episode. We need to see the fights between the two. So we'll see the fight because we need to know the information about the Mughals first. And then then we are going into the Carnatic Wars, so then we'll understand further. So now just listen for 2-3 minutes. I'll give you a break, but pehle samajh lo. So this is one part. What is the other part? That mighty Mughal emperors. As far as the Babur is concerned, Babur is the founder, okay, and always in fighting. 1526 he founded Mughal Empire, and then after he's in a continuous fight. Initially, the first battle of Panipat, and then after battle of Khanwa, battle of Chanderi, and so as the fight with the Sirsa Suri. Then his death in 1530. His son Humayun is coming to power. Humayun has to face many challenges from his own brothers and challenge of the Sirsa Suri. So Humayun has to leave India by 1540. Humayun will be seeking asylum in the Iran, and 15 saal. So 15 year Humayun would be in Iran. 1555 Humayun is returning back and re-establishing the Mughal Empire. But then he was not fortunate. His death happened in an unfortunate way. How? He was descending from one of his observatory Sher Mandal and he fell from it. Then, so he died because of it. And after that, accession of Akbar to the throne, who was just a 13 to 14-year-old child. And initially Akbar under the regency of the Bairam Khan, but later on full-fledged ruler from the 1560. So Akbar is considered as the real initiator of the many Mughal policies and the founder. So now Akbar's regime has firmly consolidated Mughal rule in India, and he is followed by Jahangir, Shah Jahan and Aurangzeb. So all these four, Akbar, Jahangir and Shah Jahan, okay, and so as Aurangzeb, are called as mighty Mughal emperor. In fact, it was the Aurangzeb who was wielding a lot of power. Not only he had that much authority, but then there was a terror of the Aurangzeb also. Then, so even if people are disaffected, even if people are not coinciding with his policy, they want to go against him, but then there was a fear. Then, so Aurangzeb was able to hold the Mughal Empire, but then his policies were the one which were responsible for the decline. Then, and moreover, after him, maybe the Mughal Empire would have continued if there would have been a strong ruler like the Aurangzeb, but none of his sons were strong enough. And that's how rapid decline of the Mughals will start from the 1707. What Mughal controlled before 1707, if that is the 100%, so us 100% ka sirf 30% bacha by 1724. So rapid decline is happening, and it's all because of that policy of the Aurangzeb and so as the later Mughal emperors. So we'll start our story with the Bahadur Shah first, who was the son of the Aurangzeb and he ascended to the throne in 1707. Okay? So break ke baad we will start. Okay? You can take 15-minute break, then we'll continue. So later Mughal rule. So later Mughals, they are the sons of the Mughals only. But then they are called as later Mughal because they don't have that kind of power and authority. So soon after the death of Aurangzeb, what has happened? That the three sons of the Aurangzeb started to fight with each other to grab the power. These three sons are Prince Muazzam, Azam Khan and Kambaksh. So once the fight between them has started, obviously one will be victorious, two would be defeated, and it was Prince Muazzam who has defeated and killed two of his brothers, Kambaksh and Azam. And then it is Prince Muazzam who ascended to the throne with the title of the Bahadur Shah. And moreover, another title which was given to him, Shah Alam First. Okay? So he is also Bahadur Shah First, he is also Shah Alam First. His tenure 1707 to 1712. As far as the Bahadur Shah is concerned, then his age was already 65 when he has ascended the throne. Then, so still, when he has ascended the throne, so he has some ideas that how he would arrest the decline of the Mughal Empire, and then how he can seek the support of the Indian community in further continuation of the Mughal Empire. So though he was not a strong military administrator, but at least he was good in diplomacy. And then he has taken many initiatives. So one by one, those initiatives we need to know. First of all, he knew that he is not a strong military commander. And there were many rising powers in India by that point of time. So he knew the real threat. And accordingly, he's decided that he will not follow the footsteps of the Aurangzeb. He will reverse the religious divisive policy of the Aurangzeb. So what he did, that he reversed the religious divisive policy of the Aurangzeb. For example, Aurangzeb was on a rampage to destroy some of the big temples of India. Aurangzeb destroyed some of the big temples, which include the Somnath temple, Kashi Vishwanath temple, so as Kesav Rai temple and the Govind Dev temple of the Mathura Vrindavan. There is a famous story about the Govind Dev temple. I'll tell you here only. Govind Dev temple of the Mathura Vrindavan was created by Raja Mansingh of Amer. And who was Mansingh? Mansingh was one of the Navratna of the Akbar, meaning that one of the 9 important ministers of the Akbar. In fact, Mansingh was very closer to Akbar. So when Mansingh started the construction of the Govind Dev temple in the Vrindavan, so it was heavily funded by Akbar. Akbar provided the funds, and then he was a regular visitor of that temple. So as the Kesav Rai temple of the Mathura Vrindavan. But then Aurangzeb even didn't had the respect towards the legacy from his own family. Then, and if this would have been, see that rulers, we don't need to see from that many a times that we blame it on, that unnecessarily we blame it on the religion. No religion is like that. It's only the personalities who are to be blamed. So for example, that if Aurangzeb can be blamed for his too much of orientation towards the one religion, so how it can be justified that he killed his own brethren, his own blood? Then he killed Dara Seko. And in the battle of Samugad, he tried to kill Sahasuja, and he killed even his younger brother Murad. I'll tell you one situation. In 1659, when he has house arrested Shahjahan, he wanted to become the ruler, and at that point of time, Dara Seko was the chosen prince. He defeated and killed Dara Seko in the battle of Samugad. And then after, Murad, who was the younger brother who was supporting Aurangzeb in this fight, later on, all of a sudden, he killed his brother Murad also, without any offense. The reason is that Aurangzeb was of the view that maybe in the later time he will challenge the emperorship. So that's how he wanted to everybody to be eliminated. So he was in the lust of the power, not in the lust of any other thing. And other things were used as an instrument to gain that power. So now understand. So he destroyed that Govind Dev temple. So he was on that rampage. And why we are mentioning Govind Dev temple? By the time of the Aurangzeb, it was the largest temple of India. Then destroy करने के बाद फिर दोबारा भी बना in modern age, but then that's a very small temple as compared to the old one. So Bahadur Shah first, he reversed this policy of the destroying temples. He stopped the destruction of the temples completely. Then after, he also followed the policy of the conciliation with many of the rising powers of India. So for example, he tried to establish peace with the Jats and Bundelas. Then, so Jats and Bundelas, because Jats and Bundelas are the one who are very immediate to the Delhi, which is the capital of the Mughals. Then after, he also conciliated with the Rajput rulers. In fact, Rajputs were also offended with the Aurangzeb's rule. There are many reasons, and in many such historical pages you will understand about it. It will not happen in one such class or even in the 20 classes, but then you will understand. So now understand that Rajputs were the one who, from the time of the Akbar, they were the good friends of the Mughals. And there was always a very good relationship between the Rajputs and the Mughals. But it is the Aurangzeb's time that his negative vices has led to the Rajputs getting disaffected from the Mughal politics. So Bahadur Shah, once again, he tried to conciliate peace with the Rajputs also. So that is one. Then another very important community is the Marathas. Now here's something interesting is there. I just need to tell you that story. So Maratha, one of the biggest adversary of the Aurangzeb. See, these all top kahanis which I'm telling you, okay, will be there in the medieval part, you'll be writing. But yahan pe, I just want you to know the overall picture so that you can understand this development in the 1707 onwards. The biggest challenger to the Aurangzeb's rule was Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. And Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj was the one who was never defeated by Aurangzeb. He was defeated by Savai Raja Jai Singh first. Okay? Shivaji was defeated by the Jai Singh first, but not by the Aurangzeb. And moreover, it is this battle, 1665, Battle of Purandar, in which Raja Jai Singh defeated Shivaji. And after that, as per the treaty, that Raja Jai Singh has said to the Shivaji that you will have to present yourself in the Aurangzeb's court at Agra. And when Shivaji with his son, when he is there in the Aurangzeb's court at Agra, Aurangzeb did a treachery. Treachery meaning dhokha. And what he did, that he arrested Shivaji by inviting him to the Agra. This is the most cowardice act for the emperor who claims himself to be the emperor of Hindustan. If in reality he wanted to arrest Shivaji, it must be through the battlefield. It must be through the real combat, not this kind of hook and crook method. Inviting somebody to your home and then arresting the person in your home. So this is what he did, and this created many such that bad sentiments inside the Mughal court. In fact, Mughal governors, then they were not happy with this Aurangzeb's tactics. And many people, Mughal generals and Mughal governors, they helped Shivaji to escape from Agra. So in 1665 itself, Shivaji escaped from Agra. That's a very interesting story. We're not telling you over here. Just now understand, after this Shivaji has taken a resolve that he will not let Aurangzeb to penetrate through the Deccan, and he meant so. So till his last breath, Aurangzeb didn't had any victory in the Deccan, and Shivaji was on the rampage. He was winning the areas which he has lost to the Savai Raja Jai Singh, and then after he has completely established Maratha Empire, and that's how in 1674, though he became the Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. Chhatrapati means the king of the Maratha area. So his death happened in 1680, and after that, his death. So in Maratha episode, we'll be writing the timeline. Abhi kuch mat likhna, okay? So 1680, the eldest son of the Shivaji, his name is Chhatrapati Sambhaji. Okay? So Chhatrapati Sambhaji came to power. He became the Raja of the Maratha area, king of the Maratha area. His tenure continued till 1689. But once again, Aurangzeb has resorted to the same tactics. He got them overnight from one of the fort of the Sambhaji. He got them kidnapped actually. Okay? And in this kidnapping event, kidnapping hi bolunga, not only the Chhatrapati Sambhaji, his wife and his son Sahu, they all were taken as a prisoner in the Mughal court. And Chhatrapati Sambhaji was hacked to death. He was hacked to death. And the wife of the Sambhaji, and so as his son Sahu, they were kept in the Mughal prison from 1689 to 1707. Now what happened? What about the Maratha area? Who is ruling Maratha area? So Maratha area now it is ruled by the younger son of Shivaji, whose name was Raja Ram. Then, so younger son of Shivaji, Raja Ram, who continued till 1700. His natural death happened in 1700, and after that his wife Tarabai is ruling from 1700 to 1707. Now, Tarabai has a minor son, Chota Bacha, okay? And the minor son was named, just 2-3 years old, he was named Shivaji II. Then, so she is ruling on the behalf of the Shivaji II. Ab wapas aate hain Bahadur Shah pe. So when it comes to Bahadur Shah first, Bahadur Shah at this time, he released the Maratha prince Sahu, okay? What is the reason? The reason is that Marathas, under Tarabai, Marathas have advanced and they have gained a lot of power. Then they have become a threat to anybody in the neighborhood area, Mughal se leke any regional kingdom. So now he released Sahu with the intention that if Sahu would be released, so Sahu will claim the Maratha throne. Okay? He will be claiming that he must become the Chhatrapati. And on the other hand, any mother will try to preserve the kingdom, the monarchy for her own son. So she will be trying to keep the monarchy for her son, minor son, Shivaji II, and Sahu will be fighting for his ownership. So then this will lead to the fight, and in this fight, when Marathas will be infighting, their power will weaken. So this is what was his diplomatic policy. That's how he released the Maratha Prince Sahu, and once he was released, so it, as expected, there was a fight between Tarabai and Sahu for the power. So the fight continued till 1713, even beyond the death of the Bahadur Shah. So he was right in this regard that it will happen. So for some time, Maratha threat was not on the Mughal Empire, but Marathas were infighting. This is what happened. Then apart from it, one of the biggest issue of this time, okay, was the Sikh community to the Mughal Empire. And Sikh community to the Mughal Empire. So the last Sikh Guru, Guru Gobind Singh, was there at this point of time. And Bahadur Shah offered a very high Mansabdar position to Guru Gobind Singh. But Guru Gobind Singh was not keeping well. He was already very ill. And because of this natural illness of the Guru Gobind Singh, his death happened. After his death, that Sikh community refused to accept any such kind of conciliation with the Mughals, and they maintained in a very clear words that we will continue our fight with the Mughal, our struggle with the Mughal. We will not agree for any peace. Then, now, can you tell me that what is the reason that why the Sikh community, even after the peace has been offered to them, they are not accepting? The reason is killing of the Sikh gurus. not by the Bahadur Shah, but by Aurangzeb himself. Aurangzeb beheaded, ठीक है, the Sikh Guru, ninth Sikh Guru, Guru Tegh Bahadur. You know the place? Seesganj Gurudwara Chandni Chowk. ठीक है? So this is the place. It was very fresh in the memory of the Sikh community that their Guru was killed in such a brutal manner. And if that is not enough, there is one more memory. Generally, Jahangir is not seen as a kind of a that aggressive or very extreme person. But then in his tenure also, one extreme event happened. And what was the extreme event? So chalo, let me tell you. Story I'll tell you. Story is that Jahangir, when he was about to become the emperor of Hindustan, and Akbar's son, Akbar's eldest son, so he was the right heir to the kingdom, and he was about to become. But then Akbar was in the last years of his life, he was not happy with the Jahangir. The reason is that Jahangir, it is said that in one such conspiracy, Jahangir got the best friend of Akbar killed. And who was the best friend of Akbar? Abul Fazl. Good. Generally, people go with the Birbal. Okay? So, best friend of Akbar was Abul Fazl, who wrote the biography of Akbar. What is that? Ain-e-Akbari and Akbar Nama. Then, so Abul Fazl was killed in one such conspiracy, and it was very clear that Jahangir was also involved in it. Then, now Akbar was not happy with it, and then there was one moment when Akbar said that if it would have been in my hand, so I would be making my grandson Khusro to be the next emperor rather than Jahangir. But now it is not in my hand. Then that Jahangir will become the emperor. So it was his wish. It's not will. समझ रहे हो ना? Wish और will में अलग है. तो Akbar's death happened 1605, and then after Jahangir became the emperor. By this point of time, his grandson, Akbar's grandson, Khusro, he was very pious, very generous like Akbar. And he was interested in the study of the Indian philosophy, religion, everything. Okay? He went to the place of Guru Arjan Dev, okay? The Sikh Guru. It is said that he stayed with the Guru Arjan Dev for 2 or more months. When he returned back, so already there was a conspiracy against the Khusro in the Mughal court, that he has gone to conspire against Jahangir, then with the Sikh community, and that's how Jahangir believed these all words. Not only Khusro was arrested, sent into the jail, he was also blinded. And then after, Guru Arjan Dev was brought to the Mughal court, whereby 9 days continuous torture of the Guru Arjan Dev happened. And you know what was the torture? Torture was that 9 days continuously hot boiling water was poured on his body. On the 9th day, he succumbed to these boiling water incident. Then this is a brutal thing which they have done. And history is aplenty with these all episodes of the brutalities and then these all kind of killings. So unnecessarily the things are blamed to the religion. These all are the atrocities which are casted by the human beings for their own aspirations and for their own ambition, for their own glory and for their own terror. It's we the fools, we blame it to the religion. So this is what happened. Now these two are very fresh in the memory of the Sikh community, and then they did not want it to conciliate. So it has been ingrained in the memory of each of the Sikh community members that we need the revenge of it. Then, and that's how they did not conciliate it. So they did not accept the offer of the Bahadur Shah, and they continued their struggle under the guidance, under the leadership of Banda Bahadur. Then, so mention further, right? Later Mughals as the title you have written, and pehle introduction likho, okay? So in introduction, mention further. After the death of Aurangzeb, war of succession started. War of succession started among the sons of Aurangzeb. War of succession started among the sons of Aurangzeb. Full stop. In which Prince Muazzam, I'm writing the spelling, you can see the spelling, okay? So in which Prince Muazzam defeated and killed two of his brothers. Prince Muazzam defeated and killed two of his brothers, Azam and Kambaksh. Azam and Kambaksh. Azam and Kambaksh. Full stop. As such, the 65-year-old, as such, the 65-year-old Prince Muazzam ascended to the throne with the title. As such, 65-year-old Prince Muazzam ascended to the throne with the title Bahadur Shah first or Shah Alam first. Bahadur Shah first or Shah Alam first. Then, so Bahadur Shah first or Shah Alam first. Then mention further. इसके बाद लिखो mention Bahadur Shah first and Shah Alam first. After it, write a title. पहले title लिख लो. Bahadur Shah first and timeline 1707 to 1712. Done. So mention further. In this you write, he was a learned personality. He was a learned personality. Learned. Learn ed. Add कर लो. पढ़े लिखे. So, and what do I mean by this? Bahadur Shah first had knowledge of many languages, and he was very good in mathematics and astrology also. So in one word we are summing that he was a learned personality. Then you write, though he was very good in diplomacy, but not a strong military administrator. Then आगे लिखो, not a strong military administrator, full stop. He tried to reverse the religious divisive policies of Aurangzeb. Religious divisive policies of Aurangzeb. And offered peace to many communities. Done. Then you write in initiative form. So number wise you can mention, point format. So initiatives mein likh lo. Very first one you write. Number 1. He offered peace to Rajputs. Jats and Bundelas. Rajput, Jat. Jats and Bundelas. Bundelas meaning people of the Bundelkhand. Then you mention, next one, he stopped the destruction of Hindu temples. Next one, he also released Maratha prince Sahu from the Mughal captivity. Who was kept prisoner since since 1689. Since 1689. Who was kept prisoner since 1689. Full stop. He also offered peace to, he also offered, peace nahi likhna, he also offered a very high mansab position, a very high mansab position, very high mansab position to the Sikh Guru, to the Sikh Guru, Guru Gobind Singh. Sikh Guru, Guru Gobind Singh. But soon after the death of Guru, soon after the death of Guru, Sikh community refused to accept, Sikh community refused to accept any peace with Mughals. Sikh community refused to accept any peace with Mughals. Full stop. They decided that they will continue, they decided that they will continue their struggle. They will continue their struggle with Mughals under the leadership of Banda Bahadur. Under the leadership of Banda Bahadur. Then Banda Bahadur. Then after it you mention, so no, only this much we have discussed. So understand, after this part, there is one more thing which is said about the Bahadur Shah first, that since we said that he was not a strong military commander, it means that he was that often he was in the grip of the fear when it comes to his own generals and his own nobles. He was of the view that his nobles can go to any extent, and then they can do the revolt also. So very often, whenever these kind of threats were perceived, what he was doing, he was granting lavish jagir to his military officers. What is jagir? Piece of land. Okay? So lavish jagir to his nobles, and moreover without merit these jagirs were given. Because of this granting of the jagir without merit, he was often referred as Sahe Bekhabar. Then, so what is the meaning of this word? That headless king. Many historians used to call him that Sahe Bekhabar. That why without merit this particular land has been granted. So that is one part. 1712, his life came to an end, and then the real face of the later Mughal emperors came to reality. What is the real face? They are more interested in the power rather than the aspects related to the administration, and so as that some of the customaries they needed to perform. Please understand that Bahadur Shah's death, his dead body, it was not buried for over a month. The reason is that his sons were fighting for the power. They did not spare even a day to bury the dead. Then they did not spare. On the other hand, we often criticize Aurangzeb, but then there were at least some etiquette were left in the Aurangzeb. What was the etiquette? He fought with the Darasiko. He killed Darasiko in the Battle of Samugad, and then after he performed the last rite of the Darasiko. So at least this much decency was left in the Aurangzeb. That decency was not there in the later Mughals. And that's why we say that they didn't have the characters also. At least they must have laid their father to the rest, final rest. But then, and those are the days that bodies cannot be preserved for a longer period of time. So this itself is indicative that why they will be called as later Mughal, not the Mughals. Then, so mention, right? Bahadur Shah often granted lavish jagir, lavish jagir to many of his nobles. to many of his nobles without any merit. To many of his nobles without any merit. Mention. Because of it, many historians called him Sahe Bekhabar. Many historians called him Sahe Bekhabar, or headless king. Then mention. After the death of, agla point, after the death of Bahadur Shah, his sons were in the race of grabbing power. His sons were in the race of grabbing power so that they left his body. Race of grabbing power so that they left his body unburied for over a month. Unburied for over a month. So this is what is about Bahadur Shah's death. And then one of the son will come to power. His name is Jahandar Shah. So let's talk about this topic. This is last for today. So Jahandar Shah, write it as a title, 1712 to 1713. So now understand, the Mughal dynamics have changed by this point of time. What is this? So there were a large number of that ethnic noble groups in Mughal court. And what are these ethnic noble groups? The nobles from different areas. So there were Turkish noble from Turkey. They were called as Turani noble. There were Persian nobles, meaning Irani nobles. There were Afghani nobles, and so as Hindustani noble, meaning Indian origin Muslims. Then, so 4 group of the nobles were there. And these nobles, after the death of Aurangzeb, they have got hell lot of power. And all of them want to get the most important position after the king. And what is the most important position after the king? Wazir. Okay? Prime Minister position. So that's how the nobles have got a hell lot of say in the Mughal politics. This time, it is with the support of the noble Zulfikar Khan. Then, so support of the noble Zulfikar Khan, who was an Iranian noble, okay, Persian noble. So with his support, Jahandar Shah came to power. Then, but as far as the Jahandar Shah is concerned, एक ही साल है duration, but then he was a degenerate person, fully indulged in the physical pleasure. You understand what is physical pleasure. All the time indulged in the physical pleasure and then not looking at the administration. So if the king is indulged in the physical pleasure, so what happened? All the decisions were taken by the Wazir Zulfikar Khan. So he is the Wazir and he was taking all the decisions on the behalf of the king. So what all decisions were taken by Zulfikar Khan? Let's discuss one by one. So the very first part is the tax. The most famous tax, and that is what? Jizya tax. So jizya tax, he abolished jizya tax. Now understand, as far as the jizya tax is concerned, its origin can be traced from the Delhi Sultanate. Then it was first imposed during the Delhi Sultanate. And what is there are 2 things in the jizya: the nature and the purpose of the tax. So what was the nature of the tax? It was imposed on the non-Muslim community, meaning barring Muslims, Hindus, Buddhists, Jainas, Christians, if they are there in India, so they will have to pay this tax. What is the purpose of the tax? For their protection. So it was actually a protection tax. Then protection meaning that Mughal emperor is demanding it because he is providing protection to the community. Then, so this is the purpose. But then, was it a discriminatory or non-discriminatory tax? Discriminatory, because if the protection has to be provided, so protection is provided to every community. So why some communities are left and some communities only be paying? So that's why it was a discriminatory tax. So he abolished this particular tax. Actually, ये कई बार abolish हुआ है, कई बार लगा है. So during the Delhi Sultanate, it was completely operational. It is Akbar who abolished the jizya tax. Aurangzeb, that after Akbar, Jahangir, Shahjahan did not implement it. It is Aurangzeb who re-implemented it. Okay? So from Aurangzeb's time till this time, it is operational, and then now once again it has been abolished. So it seems to be a good initiative, at least. But then the second initiative was not so good. Then, and this you understand, he started Izara system of taxation. Izara system of taxation. Now, what is this? इसमें बहुत ध्यान से समझना that what is this Izara system of taxation. First, I will define and then I'll break it into the parts so that you can understand. So, under the Izara system of taxation, the tax collection authority was chosen by the bidding process. बोली लगा के, ठीक है? So, tax collection authority was chosen by the bidding process for a particular area. Highest bidder was chosen and he was given the contract of collecting the revenue. Let's understand in a colloquial terms. मतलब समझने के लिए, लिखने के लिए नहीं, ठीक है? मान लो करोल बाग है, ठीक है, where we are right now. So suppose करो that if the tax collection authority of the Karol Bagh is to be decided, the process was bidding. So what is bidding? Boli laga ke. So now the nobles of the Mughal house, they are invited, okay? And suppose that 5 people are there who are going to boli lagana or bidding. So someone said that one of the nobles said that if I get the tax collection authority of the Karol Bagh, so I will pay the amount 20 lakh to Mughal emperor. Somebody said 21 lakh, koi 22, koi 23, and the highest amount who bidded 25 lakh. So kisi ne, one person bidded 25 lakh. Now the person who has bidded 25 lakh, it is the highest bid. So now contract would be given to the highest bid. So now no matter what, suppose that I have bidded 25 lakh. So no matter how much I am going to collect from the Karol Bagh, I will have to pay 25 lakh to the emperor. मैंने अगर जो मान लो इफ आई एम कलेक्टिंग फ्रॉम द करोल बाग, मान लो मैंने सिर्फ 15 लाख कलेक्ट किया, इफ आई हैव कलेक्टेड ओनली 15 lakh, but then how much I need to pay? 25, because this is what is the bidding price which I have said. So this is the Izara system. So, and how come my profit would be there? If I'm collecting more than 25 lakh. Okay? So I will be paying 25 lakh to the Mughal emperor, but मेरा फायदा कब होगा? जब मैं 30 लाख, 40 लाख, 50 lakh, this much I'm collecting. And that's how the Izaredars became very greedy. Then, so if they are to submit, suppose X amount of the money to the Mughal emperor, they were taking the taxes of 2x amount, okay? And very high amount. And that's how public was reeling under the pressure of the high taxes. Okay? So on one hand, one initiative is good, but the second initiative has led to the impoverishment of the public. I hope you got it. Is it not difficult? तो नहीं है ना Izara system. So लिखो, mention करो. So Jahandar Shah came to power. Jahandar Shah came to power with the support of an Iranian noble Zulfikar Khan. Iranian noble Zulfikar Khan. Then mention further. Iranian noble Zulfikar Khan, full stop. As a token of gratitude, position of wazir, as a token of gratitude, position of wazir was given to Zulfikar Khan. Position of wazir was given to Zulfikar Khan. Full stop. आगे लिखो, mention. Jahandar Shah was a degenerate person. Jahandar Shah was a degenerate person, fully indulged in physical pleasure. Fully indulged in physical pleasure. As such, all the decisions were taken by all the decisions were taken by Zulfikar Khan. All the decisions were taken by Zulfikar Khan. Then mention further Zulfikar Khan के बाद full stop. He took following initiatives. He took following initiatives on the behalf of the emperor. He took following initiatives on the behalf of the emperor. Number one, you write, he abolished the discriminatory jizya tax. He abolished the discriminatory jizya tax. Brackets में लिखो, in brackets mention what was jizya tax. It was imposed on non-Muslims. It was imposed on non-Muslims, and the purpose was to provide protection. Purpose was to provide protection to the community. Then let's come to the next part. After it, you write some mention Izara system, and now you write second one. He initiated Izara system of taxation. He initiated Izara system of taxation. Full stop. लिखो. Under this system, tax collection authority was chosen by bidding process. BIDDING, bidding process. The highest bidder was chosen. The highest bidder was chosen and given the contract of collecting the revenue from a particular area. Full stop. Then mention, they were popularly known as Izare-dar. Then mention after it Izare-dar. Very often this system of taxation led to exploitation of taxpayers. Exploitation and excruciation, दोनों लिखो. Exploitation and excruciation of taxpayers. Then, so now, just listen. After this, there were two more initiatives, but then ये सिर्फ पेपर पे रह गए. The initiatives which I'm going to talk about, they were not implemented. The reason is death of the Jahandar Shah, killing by Farrukhsiyar. So, though it was agreed but not executed, later on in the time of the Farrukhsiyar, it was executed. So, what is this? So, one more decision was taken that Marathas would be given the right of Chauth and Sardes Mukhi of Deccan. Okay? So, by 1713, Marathas have solved their dispute between Tarabai and Sahu. And moreover, Sahu has become the Chhatrapati of the Maratha area. So, that's why now it became important to the Mughal emperor that keep them in kind of that cordial relation, not to confront them. So that's why the decision was taken, and the decision was Chauth and Sardes Mukhi. What is Chauth? Understand. So Chauth was 1/4 of the total revenue collection of the Deccan. So not all the other areas, but only Deccan. So 1/4 of the total revenue collection of Deccan. Suppose that total revenue collection of Deccan is 1 crore. So how much would be given to the Marathas? 25 lakh. Okay. Then what was Sardes Mukhi? So Sardes Mukhi was 10% additional levy, okay, which was to be given to the Marathas. So additional levy on the Chauth. So if it is 10% additional levy, so what will be the amount according to 1 crore? 10 lakh. Okay? Is it? No. Levy is a tax on tax. Understand karo. Levy and cess are tax on tax. They are not the direct tax. So tax ke upar tax. So what is the main tax? Chauth. Chauth ke upar 10% is the Sardes Mukhi. So if 1 crore is the total collection of Deccan, Chauth is 25 lakh. So what would be the Sardes Mukhi? 10% of 25 lakh, 2.5 lakh. Getting it? It is just like कि अभी लगन का season start हो रहा है और the entire Karol Bagh market, they will be writing the discount, and discount is कि come to our shop and then we are giving you discount of 50% plus 30% plus 20%. अब लोग ये ना समझ के अंदर घुस जाएं कि पूरा 100% फ्री है, बस अंदर जाना है. So it's not like that. पहला 1000 का अमाउंट, so 50%, 500. Then उस 500 का 30% डिस्काउंट, what will be that? 200. ठीक है, and 200 का 20% डिस्काउंट, so 40 rupees. Then so 160 का is your material. It is not free of cost. So tax on tax, her tax pay. So this was tax on tax, then which was to be given to the Marathas. So though the decision was taken, but implementation nahi ho paya. Why so? Killing of the Jahandar Shah, and later on at the time of the Farooq Siyar, it was implemented. So isko likh lo. Mention. Third, it was also decided that Marathas would be given, it was also decided Marathas would be given Chauth and Marathas would be given Chauth and Sardes Mukhi of Deccan. Marathas would be given Chauth and Sardes Mukhi of Deccan. Then Deccan. Then mention. अब अलग से लिख लो, नहीं इसी में लिखो, just add one more word. But it was not implemented during the tenure of Jahandar Shah, and later it was implemented during the period of Farooq Siyar. Got it? Separately you write what is Chauth and Sardes Mukhi. Mention. Chauth as a title you can mention, and mention it is 1/4. It is 1/4 of the total revenue collection. It is 1/4 of the total revenue collection of Deccan. Total revenue collection of Deccan. Then Sardes Mukhi you write. It was 10%, Sardes Mukhi as a title, it was 10% additional levy. It was 10% additional levy, L-E-V-Y, additional levy on Chauth, 10% additional levy on Chauth, which was to be given to the Marathas. It was 10% additional levy on Chauth which was to be given to the Marathas. Then, so this is what is about the initiatives during the Jahandar Shah's time. We'll see Farrukhsiyar, Muhammad Shah Rangila and all the Mughal emperors tomorrow's class, and so as decline of Mughal. But listen one thing. In tomorrow's class will be a little bit of discussion would be there on the answer writing also. With one question I'll be giving in the classes, not for you to write, but then I will be explaining that how we can write what all parts in the body, what all parts in the introduction. ठीक है, चलो, so मिलते हैं कल. Thank you.